Records are there to be broken in sport, and with a grid so talented as the current crop of drivers that we have in Formula 1 in 2022, it's no surprise that there are plenty of record holders down there waiting to go every single racing Sunday. I'm Ollie Wilson for GPFans, and these are some of the records being held by current drivers in Formula 1. Now, you can stay with us for the whole of the 2022 season by hitting subscribe down below and of course following gpfans.com for all the latest breaking news in Formula 1. But now let's dive into the record-breaking special. Lewis Hamilton has been competing in the sport since 2007. He started his Formula 1 career at McLaren, but has spent the last 10 years or so with Mercedes. With over 290 Grand Prix to his name, the British driver has time to collect a fair few records in Formula 1. Now, Hamilton has been on the podium, a record-breaking 183 times in his career, 103 of which he's taken the race victory in. Partly because of these many podiums, Hamilton also holds the record for the most number of championship points to his name. 4,215.5 is the exact number, and he is more than 1,000 points ahead of the man who sits in second on the grid, Sebastian Vettel. In addition, the British driver has also had the most consecutive race starts and points finishes. He's also the driver to date who has taken a win in every single season since his debut. However, that may be coming to an end this year unless Mercedes can up their game with their W13. With 7 races already completed this year, Hamilton has only been on the podium once. A record Hamilton could still break in his career is the most world championships won by an F1 driver. He's currently tied with Michael Schumacher with 7 championships. Could Hamilton break this incredible record? Let us know in the comments section below. But as I say, a lot of it falls at the hands of Mercedes as well. Max Verstappen entered the premier class of motorsport at a very young age, which is why he has several records for being the youngest driver to achieve certain feats. A few of these are the youngest driver to participate in an F1 weekend, the youngest dropout in an F1 weekend, the youngest driver to score points, the youngest leader of a race, the youngest driver to have a podium place, and of course, he's the youngest driver to win a race. Due to the hectic pace of the coronavirus in the world, we saw several triple headers on the calendar in the 2021 season. This again brought new opportunities for F1 records. Max Verstappen became the first driver in 2021 to win 3 races within 15 days. And he managed to take 2 pole positions on the same track within 8 days. In addition, Verstappen is also the first Dutch driver to lead a world championship and of course the first Dutch driver to become world champion. Sebastian Vettel, the youngest world champion in Formula 1 history, won his first championship in 2010 and then went on to win 3 more in successive years. Vettel also holds the title of the youngest driver with a pole position and the youngest driver with a hat-trick to his name. The German also has more consecutive wins than any other driver. In 2013, he was the first to cross the finish line 9 times in a row. Vettel also has one of the most notable records to his name, namely the fastest penalty in Formula 1 history. His first session as an F1 driver had just started, but after just 9 seconds, the young Vettel was already able to take a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. The stewards noted it, and Vettel was an early record breaker. After a 2-year absence from Formula 1, Fernando Alonso made a comeback in 2021. He joined the revamped Alpine team, where he's been driving alongside Esteban Ocon ever since. The 2-time world champion made the switch from Ferrari to McLaren in 2015. However, the English team had a lot of problems during Alonso's spell there, and the Spanish driver only scored 132 points in 4 seasons with McLaren. Because Alonso did not finish higher than 5th during this period, he now has the record for the most races between podium finishes. His last podium before temporarily leaving the sport was back in 2014 at the Hungarian Grand Prix. In 2021, however, Alonso managed to take a podium place again in Qatar. With 105 races between his podium finishes, this record is now in the hands of the Spanish Lion. Valtteri Bottas also has a record to his name, but we're not too sure if he's happy about this one. He's probably not. The Finnish driver has the record for the most championship points without becoming world champion. He's already collected 1,778 World Championship points in his career, but he has always been that number 2 when he was at Mercedes, to Lewis Hamilton's dominance. Will it ever happen for Valtteri Bottas? We will see. Carlos Sainz also has a record in Formula 1 that you probably don't aim for. He has completed 100 races in his career without finishing on the podium. Fortunately, he managed to break this streak at the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix by crossing the finish line in third, and there have been plenty more to come since then. Sergio Perez also has a record that you may not want to have next to your name when you enter the sport. He completed 189 races in Formula 1 without taking a win. It was not until Sakir 2020 that the Mexican driver was allowed to climb onto the top step of the podium for the first time. The Mexican driver also holds the record for the most races without a pole position, which he was only able to break at his 219th appearance in a Grand Prix weekend. Now, of course, a winner at Monaco, he joins a more illustrious list as victors in the Principality, as opposed to perhaps the 2 records that he also holds in F1. There are plenty of records on the Formula 1 grid, but there are still a few more that can be broken this year as well. Hamilton could of course break Michael Schumacher's record if he becomes world champion, but that seems a little unrealistic. However, a more realistic record that he could break of the German driver is that they are now level with the most consecutive seasons with a Grand Prix victory. But if Hamilton wins a race this year, he could take that title for himself. Max Verstappen currently holds the record for the most podiums in one season. Last year, he managed to finish in the top 3 out of 22 races. With 22 races on the calendar again this year, it would be possible for him to break this record. The Ferraris and Red Bull drivers are all in to break this record this season, but after 7 races, it's still Max Verstappen who is on top with 5 podium places to his name. Fernando Alonso already holds the record for the most races between podium finishes, but this year he can also set the record for the longest time between 2 race victories. The current record is held by Riccardo Patrese with 6 years and 211 days between his victories. Alonso's last win was in Spain at the 2013 Grand Prix, 9 years ago. If he manages to get one more win in his career, he will break this record by quite a big margin. So those are the records on the Formula 1 grid. Which ones will be broken this year and which ones will stand the test of time and never be broken again? I'm looking at you, Sebastian Vettel, for that fastest penalty in a Formula 1 career. Let us know in the comments section below as always, and GPFans Global on Twitter and Instagram is where you can follow all of our social media content as well across the world of Formula 1.